Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Todd Sutton. I serve as the program director for the Todd Anthony Bell National Resource Center on the African American Male, and I would like to welcome you to our annual early arrival program. That's when you clap. Thank you so kind. With the early arrival program, this is one of our special hallmark programs for the Bell Resource Center. And I'm just happy to see everyone here today. This is one of the largest early arrival programs that we have had since this program has been in existence. The first program was in 2005. First, I would like to introduce for some special remarks Vice President here at The Ohio State University Department and Director over Athletics for The Ohio State University, Mr. Gene Smith.
Thank you, Todd. OH!
I.O.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I won't make you do it twice. These are rookies. Rookies. I just wanted to stop by and welcome you on behalf of the university, but also on behalf of your athletic program. I am fortunate and blessed to have the opportunity to lead your athletic program. We have 36 sports, 340 employees, and we're the largest Division I athletic program in the country. And so now you have that as part of your resume from Jump Street, right away. You're part of the game. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of everything that this institution has to offer. So often I watch young people go through college and not have the opportunity or take the initiative to enjoy everything that an institution has to offer outside of their particular curriculum. I want to encourage you to do that. Now obviously in your first semester you're going to be drinking water through a fire hose. So you're just going to be trying to figure out where to go to class, where to eat, and all that. So that's good. But you're going to be here with us for a while, right?
Yeah.
So think about this in the long haul. This is not a sprint. Okay, take each day at a time, stay focused, and make sure you do what you're here to do. Years ago, our retention rates of the African American male at The Ohio State University was atrocious. And these good people have done a great job in turning that around, and I'm sure they'll quote some of the numbers, so I won't steal their thunder. But the bottom line is this. I've been blessed. I'm born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, played sports, never aspired to go to college. Because I got big and I ate mom's food, they started recruiting me to play football. So I played football and got a degree. And it's the greatest thing in my life that ever happened was that, besides getting married, having kids, and all that stuff. But it was that opportunity to get that degree. Because that opens up so many doors. So I want to challenge you to make sure that you make a commitment to every single day wake up with a purpose and with a game plan. Don't just go through the motions. Don't just say I'm going to walk to class, go to class, sit in the back of class, have my hat on, and not pay attention. You're not here to go through the motions. Because of what you look like, take that hat off. Pull those pants up and sit up front. Make eye contact with the professor. Make sure you reach to the professor somewhere in that first read to shake his or her hand and introduce yourself. You guys understand me? So it is literally. Hi, I'm Gene Smith. I'm a freshman from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm so honored to be in your class. You guys got me? Yes, sir. Is that simple? Is that simple? That's the difference between an A and a B. The difference between an A and a B. Okay? When you do that and you sit up front, it's the first impression that lasts. Okay? So stay on it. Stay on it. So I want to thank you. I'm in the Fawcett Center on campus, which you probably won't be able to figure out for quite a while. But eventually you will. And if you ever need any assistance, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, we have 340 programs, 340 employees, and These are the most diverse athletic program in the country. We won an award in 2007 or 8. And there's some of my members of my team back there. Guys, stand up. Say your name real quick and what you do.
Martin Jarman. I'm one of the executive associate athletic directors, and I just do whatever Gene tells me to do.
James Erickson. I work in event management, so basically game operations and that sort of thing.
Chris Davis, development, so I help fundraise for all of our sports here.
And Chris Davis, we raised over $51 million last year. James Erickson, we host over 500 events every single year. Over 500, about 270 athletic events, and the rest are weddings and things of that nature. And you know, some people who pass away even want to throw their ashes on our field. What's up with that, Andrew? I make money off it, though. And then Martin oversees a great deal of our operation. He is actually my right-hand man. So we have a number of people who are at your disposal to assist you as you go through this experience at The Ohio State University. And understand every day you wake up, you're blessed. Have a purpose, get it done. Thank you, go Bucks.
I have to talk to you, Gene, to see if you can get some of those ashes on our, to be thrown on our new building.
You probably charge more than I would. I know you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Valerie Lee. I'm the Vice Provost for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion and the Chief Diversity Officer, and I'm the Vice President for Outreach and Engagement. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Early Arrival Program for the Todd Anthony Bell National Resource Center, or BRC as we affectionately call it. BRC reports to the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. The Early Arrivals Program series of events is designed to familiarize you with the tools and resources that you're going to be using on your path to excellence. It is the first of many BRC events dedicated to your success. Throughout your time here at The Ohio State University, you're going to become familiar with the other programs of the BRC, including the African American Male Retreat, the Gathering of Men program, and the annual Todd Anthony Bell lecture series, each one designed to enhance excellence, satisfaction, performance, and retention to graduation for African American men. The support, love, and care that the BRC provides for our students makes me proud that it is housed in our office, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Under the stellar, and I'm going to make him blush now, but under the stellar leadership of Dr. James L. Moore III, Distinguished Professor of Urban Education, the BRC continues to receive local, regional, and national acclaim from as close by as the stairways of Ohio State's President's office to as far away as the halls of Congress. Dr. Moore received the 2010 National Alliance of Black School Educators W.E.B. Du Bois Higher Education Award and was invited by the College Board as a special guest to mark the official release of the report, The Educational Experience of Young Men of Color. Now, the College Board represents about 5,900 institutions, and if you read this report, its recommendation, and I think it's recommendation number 5 for higher education in the United States, pretty much says that if you want to succeed at retaining African American men in academia, check out the Todd Anthony Bell National Resource Center at The Ohio State University. All of this is to say that, if I may riff off the commercial, you're in good hands at Ohio State's BRC. And let this fact further embolden and bolster you. The BRC is but one of the many excellent resources affiliated with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion designed to support your success here. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion, or ODI, promotes the recruitment, retention, and success of students, faculty, and staff who enhance the diversity of the intellectual community at Ohio State. Our mission is simple. It is to help students face down challenges, realize their potential, and meet their goals. We provide merit and need-based scholarships and tutoring, advising, mentoring, and programming services to more than 3,000 Ohio State students. A lot of what we do has helped keep Ohio State listed as one of the top 50 universities in the country for African Americans. Programs like the Moral Scholars Program, Freshman Foundation, and Young Scholars expand educational access to underrepresented and underserved students, thus enriching the university's academic value. In addition to the BRC, ODI houses centers like the Frank W. Hale Jr. Black Culture Center and the Latino and Latin American Space for Enrichment and Research, all devoted to the success of underserved communities. In ODI, we collaborate across units, across offices, and across campuses, working together to ensure your success. Now, as a professor of literature, I believe in that words are powerful tools, and I want to share with you a poem written by an African-American poet, Esses Hemphill, and it's a poem that speaks to African-American males and the kind of self-determination, self-love, courage, and creativity that I trust you two have brought here with you today, and that will continue to serve as vital resources for your success. Here is the poem. This gives me a moment to, because I'm doing all of this administration, and it's hard to do administration without falling back sometimes on my discipline, you know, and reading a poem here or there. I'm the former chair of the Department of English here, two-term chair, and so sometimes I just need a poem to get me through the rest of the day. So here's the poem. I want an organization to save my life. If whales, snails, dogs, cats, Chrysler, and Nixon can be saved, the lives of black men are priceless and can be saved. We should be able to save each other. I don't want to wait for the Heritage Foundation to release a study saying black men are extinct. I don't want to be the living dead, pacified with drugs, sex, and rock and roll. If a human chain can be formed around nuclear missile sites, then surely black men can form human chains around Anacostia, Harlem, South Africa, Wall Street, Hollywood, and each other. So welcome to the Early Arrival Program. Note that this program isn't called the Just Show Up program, nor is it called the Get Here When You Can program. It's the Early Arrival Program. In other words, show up in advance in order to advance. I think it is never too early to ask yourself, why here, why now, what do I hope to achieve, how will I leave my mark on Ohio State. You must be early with purpose. I encourage you to seek out ways to become the most active participant in your own journey. Do not let the OSU experience just happen to you. Rather, actively experience and engage OSU. Claim your education. May your journey here be one filled with intellectual curiosity and self-determination. And thanks very much for your early arrival.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It is a joyous day to have so many talented young black males in the room. I don't take today for granted, as we all know that many are not functioning optimally all throughout this country. Today was ordained. Today is the day in which we are able to pursue our dreams and aspirations. I think today is the day that
We salute our parents, our grandparents, our community for giving us the opportunity to be here. So let's give our parents, our grandparents, that fake cousin that we call cousin, or that fake uncle, let's give them a round of applause. I believe that I'm one of the most fortunate human beings in the entire world. I have a great health, I have a loving family and friends, outstanding colleagues, and I have one of the best jobs in America. I don't believe the hype in some of the things that they say young black males cannot achieve at the highest level, because I get to see it every day. We have young men who have went to the top medical schools in America. We have young men who have obtained employment from some of the top corporations of America. I believe that there's a groundswell at Ohio State University. There's something unique and something profound. It's bigger than me, but it allows you to be a part of this experience. Ohio State has afforded me and my staff, and I'm just going to get them to raise their hand. We have Todd Sutter, which is the background. We have Ty Cornu, the big smile. Where's Ty? He's not in, but you'll get to meet him. We have my special assistant, Dr. Robert Bennett III. We have wonderful people who are in place to help you succeed so you can achieve your dreams. The vocation that we have chosen, I believe, is much meaningful than money, status, and social rewards. According to the late Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, the former great Morehouse College president and a native of my beloved South Carolina, every man and woman is born into the world to do something unique and something distinctive. If he or she does not do it, it will never be done. So in your dreams, you see yourself achieving at the highest level. You don't see obstacles, you just see opportunities. We believe that it is our job at the Bell National Resource Center is to help you maintain and sustain those dreams and aspirations. Much of what we realize in our life that it couldn't have been done without the help of others. So brothers, sometimes it's okay to accept help from others. Don't be the worst. Don't be the individual that you become your worst enemy. Because if you don't, as my mom would say, if you don't ask, you may not have. So ask when you need help, and we will surely be there to assist you. When you think about this experience that we like to call the Early Arrival Program, and I'm glad that you chose Ohio State, because if you would have chose another school, we would have met you in somehow, because other universities, we've had over 40 or 50 universities who have contacted us and to say, what are you all doing to help black males be so successful? And we like to think this Early Arrival Program, over the last 2 years, over 97% of the black males who participate in this Early Arrival Program, they come back. I would argue that you won't find a university in the whole United States that has nearly 500 black males with a cumulative 3.0 or better. I'm still waiting for the data from my good friends from Morehouse, but they have yet to produce it for me. And Robert is a Morehouse man, so every time I can have a chance to give him a punch, I will. The Bell Resource Center nurtures a sense of community and connectedness among black males, promoting their success in college and beyond. And I say college and beyond, because we don't want you to just get a degree. We want you to be able to land in the place that you desire to land. Now, it's okay to be a scholar, because young men, one of the things I like to say, when I ask how are you doing, if you don't have a 3.0 or better, you're not doing well. Your stomach hurt. You got a headache. You need to go see the doctor. And so we believe that no matter where you come from, no matter who your mama or daddy or grandmother is, we believe that you can achieve at the highest level. As my mom told me many years ago, she said, son, great minds come from everywhere. There's no place for darkness on a campus like Ohio State University. Anything that you can imagine and conceive with your mind is arguably being done on this campus. You have to have desire, will, grit, grind, motivation to go get it, because knowledge will never come knocking. You have to go get it. Each and every day we will support your journey. I want you young men to close your eyes, and I promise, I know I'm long-winded, but I am coming to an end. And I want you to do what my mom told me to do when she was living and I was in college. She says every time you close your eyes, I want you to imagine yourself with your regalia on and your family and all the loved ones seeing you get your degree. It will be something that you will never forget. It will be something that you will draw from even during tough times. When we were in college, I think it's sort of like a mantra across America. We would say, look to the left, look to the right. They would tell us that person ain't gonna be here next year. But at Ohio State, at the Bell National Resource Center, we say look to the left, look to the right. That's the brother that you're gonna open a business with. That's the brother that's gonna be the best man in your wedding. That's the brother that you're gonna build community with on this campus. There's something in the air at Ohio State, something special that is bigger than all of us. And you represent the greatness of this institution. This institution has great traditions. And I think Mr. Smith highlighted some of those great traditions. But in general, it's more than bricks and mortar. What makes this institution great is you. We arguably have more alums than anybody in the country. We welcome you to the family, and we summon you for excellence without excuses. Thank you.
Right, it's my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for this opening session, Dr. Andrea N. Williams, is Associate Provost of English at The Ohio State University, where she specializes in African American and 19th century American literature. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts from Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, where she was valedictorian of her college graduating class. She earned her PhD from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and was awarded a postdoctoral fellowship at Rutgers University in 2008-2009. Professor Williams is author of a new book titled Dividing Lines, Class Anxiety and Postbellum Black Fiction, published by the University of Michigan Press. The book focuses on the period between the 1880s and 1900 and traces representations of the black middle class and its often tense relationship to broader black communities. She is now at work on a study of single black women in African American literature and popular culture. In relation to her research, Professor Williams recently has taught classes such as labor and class mobility in U.S. fiction, and in spring 2014, for courses, she will be teaching a special topics class called Literary Mixtapes, Music Genre, and African American Literature. So, I might have to take that myself. For nearly 2 decades, she has also been a community mentor in local and national organizations, including Summer Bridge Atlanta, the Blue Ribbon Mentor Advocate Program in Chapel Hill, and Big Brothers Big Sisters. Here at Ohio State, she also volunteers with the Economic Access Initiative, which focuses on recruitment and retention for first-generation college students. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Williams.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me. I first want to extend my special thanks to Dr. Moore for inviting me, and also for Todd Sedith, with whom I've been in contact in my preparations. And I really consider today as one of the highlights in my time here at Ohio State. I am privileged and honored to really contribute to the work of scholarship and community building that has been going on at the Bell Center. So I'm really glad to be here. And I want to welcome all of you here to Ohio State and to what I hope will be a really transformative experience for you. First of all, I want to start off by congratulating the incoming class, because you've already done some good things. You've already made some right decisions, you've made some planning, you stayed home some nights, you studied SAT prep books, you decided to make some sacrifices so that you could be here. And so I trust you to continue to make those good decisions. In addition, I really want to say thanks as a professor for parents and friends who are sending me more students to teach. Keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming, okay? So I really appreciate those who put in more time to be those parents, to be those aunts and the uncles and the person who makes sure that they get to track practice or that they have all their homework done on time. Because by that extra push that you gave the students here, you help them to even now be ready to stand on the threshold of destiny. I kind of like that phrase, the threshold of destiny. It would make a good book title, or maybe it'll make a good title for your own autobiography one day. The threshold of destiny. Or you could call it a continuation of the journey. You could call it a new beginning. These are all ways, somewhat familiar, maybe even cliche, that we could think about as being the start of college, because it's something new. And you know, as I think about these kinds of expressions, it also reminds me of the turning points that happen in the lives of either real people or fictional characters in African American literature. The books that end up being the reference points for me so often as I'm thinking. As you heard, I am an English professor, and so I am often thinking about, is it life that imitates art, or is it art that imitates life? They all get confused in my mind, so I really want to draw some examples from both of those today in helping you to think about your own next steps in the journey. One of the classes that I really love to teach is a class that's called Growing Up Black, African American Coming of Age Narratives. And that class is all about fiction or nonfiction books on maturation and on rites of passage. In that class, I like to do Richard Wright's Black Boy or Paul Marshall's Brown Girl Brownstones. And more recently, I've added Tayari Jones's Leaving Atlanta, again, another nod to my Atlanta background, as well as Jay-Z's book, Decoded. So again, if you would like a taste of some of those things, I hope that you will join me in my class next semester as well. But one of the images that really stands out to me in some of the books that I read is from Langston Hughes's autobiography that's called The Big C. And I think that there he talks about his own coming of age in a way that really might resonate with you as you think about what you're about to embark upon here. Langston Hughes was a poet, a novelist, an autobiographer, a playwright who was really at the height of his career, let's say in the 1920s, 1930s, contributing to the Harlem Renaissance, which was a period of intense artistic development happening in Harlem and other places in the world as well in the 1920s and 1930s. But a little bit closer to home, Langston Hughes was just a homeboy from Cleveland. Do I have any people from Cleveland here? Okay, great, yeah. So Hughes ended up graduating from Central High School in Cleveland. I think that closed in the 1980s or so, but again, that was part of his trajectory. And from his time from Cleveland, graduating high school, he ended up having a number of both productive and disruptive, life-altering relocations that really changed how he thought about himself and how he thought about the goals for his life. So in The Big C, he recalls what he considered one of his most deliberate acts of self-emancipation. Around this time, he was about 21. He had been enrolled in Columbia University, what we think about as one of the premier U.S. institutions of higher education, beyond Ohio State, I may add. But he wanted something different. So here's this young man whose father luckily had enough money to be able to send him to college. He's there at Columbia, and all things, he decides he's going to drop out of school, decide to go into food service on a ship that's headed to Africa. And one of his final gestures of trying to prove himself is that he takes all his textbooks from Columbia and throws them overboard. Okay? Now, first of all, to parents who have just laid down their good money for textbooks, I want to remind you that that's not the part of the story that I want for you to concentrate on, okay? At least Hughes should have had the good sense, maybe time didn't quite catch up with him, to resell his books. Too bad he didn't have eBay back in the day, right? So it's not that I'm suggesting that you will leave here and do something else. Believe me, the early arrival program, the Bell Center, and so many other resources here are all about keeping you here, retaining you as talented, gifted young minds who will contribute to this university. And yet there is something to be learned from his example. So in sharing his life history, I'd really like for you to think about Hughes made this striking gesture of throwing those books overboard because he thought about in order to enable himself to find his voice, to decide the way that he wanted to write, to throw off the model of what a Shakespearean sonnet should look like or whether or not a poem should rhyme, that he had to throw off some of the tradition that was stifling him. So throwing out those books ended up being a symbolic gesture in some ways. Writing about this experience later, Hughes explained, it was melodramatic, perhaps, it seems to me now, but then it was like throwing a million bricks out of my heart when I threw the books into the water. Then I straightened up, turned my face to the wind, and took a deep breath. And I felt that nothing would ever happen to me again that I did not want to happen. I felt grown, a man inside and out, 21. Now, those of us over 21 might chuckle at that a little bit. And again, even Hughes does. But there's something in that moment that he realizes is freeing. And that I hope that you will think about as freeing as you think about what is it that you might need to throw overboard before you get here. What is it that your calling is requiring you to discard as you move forward? As the rest of the story goes, Hughes does later return to college, not to Columbia, but to the historically black college, Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, where he graduates in 1929. And he describes how much he eventually enjoys his college experience, finding that it was both formal education and extracurricular activities such as travel that really fueled his imagination. But I want to go back to that gesture of throwing the books overboard and really use that to guide my comments today, because I think that it suggests to us 4 key approaches that I think will be useful for you in your college experience here. And those are do, ask, reflect, connect. Do, ask, reflect, connect. Hughes boarded that ship because he wanted to do something. He wanted to experience life hands-on, not just read about it in the book, but get out there and live it. And then he began to ask questions. He began to interrogate the received knowledge. that was in those books and to think about if that knowledge was true to who he was. He also reflected on and thought seriously about his growth and his goals. And he connected with new knowledge and networks that would help him to be his best. So the first one, again, is to do. And remember, again, you don't have to leave college in order to do and experience life. In fact, I think that too often people make you feel like you're living in some kind of bubble and that college is only pretend or it's only practice for the real life that's going to happen. Believe me, it's real life right now. And these are years that will never come back to you again. No matter how much you keep looking in your college yearbook, I wish they would. Okay, that's just me. But again, you have to think about you're living real life right now. And I think that was part of what reminded him and maybe drove Hughes in that case back to college to think about it's an even balance here on campus and outside. And you can find ways on OSU's campus and beyond it to do what you love. Make the most of this experience. As a political science major, for example, you might not only just want to read about electoral politics. Get out and help people register to vote in Franklin County. Decide that you want to run for student government here on campus. As an education major, don't just read about ways to motivate students. Go out and do it. Be a mentor. Work at some of the local schools as a volunteer in some ways. Find a way to bring to three-dimensional life everything that you've been reading about. If you've always wanted to do something someday out in the future, see if that someday can begin now and whether it can enhance rather than distract what you're already doing as a college student. Some of my students, for example, have been thinking about the ways that, very literally what you all mentioned earlier, they're starting businesses as college students and really collaborating with some of the other young men that they know here on campus. So you might think about if that's part of what you want to do. But my second point is even more crucial. Ask. Ask questions. Interrogate easy answers. Now, I don't know about you, but there have been a few times when I was growing up where I started to believe there's no use in asking questions, because you never get the answer that you want. And some of these times, it happened with the adults in my life. And here's how the conversation would usually go. Me. Why? And then the adult says, help me out here. What do they say? Because I said so. End of story, right? Luckily, there are some ways that protects us when we're younger, when we're children, maybe when we're even adolescents, when we need the urgency and the caution of what an adult has to tell us. But by this stage in our journey, we want to move on to cultivate our own independent thinking. Being in college is not about somebody telling you what to think. It's about helping you to figure out how to think, so that you have at your disposal the analytical tools to interrogate knowledge in any field that you choose, to use your reasoning skills to think about culture and politics and design and other issues. Again, two practical ways that you can begin asking those questions. One is by contributing to classroom discussion. And second is by visiting your instructors during office hours and coming with that good, strong, firm handshake that Jean demonstrated for us earlier there. Because for most professors, asking why won't simply get you the answer because I said so. It will actually get you more engagement. So don't be afraid to inquire. But I especially want to urge this point strongly because I would insist that asking questions isn't just about gaining more knowledge. It's about understanding and asserting power. We've often heard it, that knowledge is power, but if that's the case, then we need to interrogate who has access to the power and knowledge, who has created the power and the knowledge, whose interests are being served by power and knowledge, and whose knowledge is being circulated or repressed. Now, these are questions that I started to ask myself when I was a first-year student at Spelman College. And for me, many of these questions were brought to my attention when I encountered a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. In it, the author analyzed how even people who think they are educated are sometimes only trained, the same way that you might train an animal, because they are trapped in the status quo. So this book really distinguishes between two different kinds of learning, and I really want you to remember this, if nothing else that I say. The two different kinds of learning. One is the banking education model, and the other is the problem posing. The first, the banking education model, is the model when you as a student are treated like a receptacle, like a box, like a container, and the teacher comes along and pours into you as a deposit, comes back later for a quiz and withdraws that deposit. Now, what do you think are the limitations to that model? Why might I not suggest that you allow yourself simply to be a safe deposit box for other people's knowledge? What are the limitations of that model? Uh-huh.
It's not necessarily know how to answer my question, you know the concept behind it.
Right. Great. Let me hear from you.
Long distance, like the long term, you know it right now, but in maybe 2 years when you actually need it, you know.
Yeah, excellent. In the back.
You only know what people have told you. You don't try to solve problems yourself.
I love it.
When you like engage in that type of learning, you don't necessarily understand the information you got, memorization.
Great. And there are some things you need to memorize, right? You need to know that 2 times 2 is 4. That's going to always be the case. But if the answer that's being looked for is 4, then maybe also 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 minus 1 plus 1 brings you back to 4 all over again. 2 plus 2 is 4. If you're looking for 4, how many ways can you get to 4? Think outside the box there. Now, the problem posing method instead is what I suggest would be better for you to engage in. It's the model that I try to use in my classroom, and that if you figured out, it's what I just did, right? I ask you, tell me what you think about. I'm not up here to pour into you. I'm here to exchange with you. And so if your professors are not doing this, again, go to office hours. Get that feedback that you want there. But again, problem posing, the function of that is really to unveil reality for you so that you can, in the immediate and the long term, think about what's your place in reality and how are you intervening in creating new realities for others. Don't allow yourself to be placed in dehumanizing ways that suppress in some ways your gifts of creativity and of intervention in your own reality. Instead, it was by questioning, asking tough questions, questioning power, questioning received knowledge, that anti-slavery and civil rights activists determined to claim greater freedom. And for Ohio State student Jesse Owens, it was by questioning power and committing himself to excellence that he was able to score 4 Olympic gold medals in 1936, a feat that challenged the period's racist assumptions, supposedly based on scientific knowledge, that black bodies were inferior to others. So again, I want for you to think about who is it who has created the knowledge that's being circulated and whose interest is it serving. Yes, you have to study these systems in order to negotiate them, but what this university needs and what this nation needs is not simply people who will regurgitate the same answers back, but others who will set new paths, not only by revising the knowledge that they have received before, but sometimes by rejecting it altogether. We need those who will lead the way forward by building on and, when necessary, challenging those expectations. Innovation and change can happen only when people with a keen understanding of the existing systems envision and enact a better way out. And I believe that there's the potential and the power within this very room to come up with new artistic expressions or new medical and technological advancements and new models of ethical public service. All of that is in this room right now, sitting right beside you. But it all starts with asking probing questions. Perhaps a natural outgrowth of asking questions of others is to ask them of yourself. And this is where I get to the point about reflecting. Reflect on what you are learning, how it's changing you, how it's refining you, how it's exposing you, not just as a thinker, but of a person. And this is one of the things that I want to say to parents. If we, at the end of the semester or next summer, send you back exactly the same student with simply more book smarts, you need to ask for a refund. Because we are not giving you what you came for. We came to allow your student, to enable your student, to foster your students in creating new identities, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. And that transformation can only happen when you're both open-minded and true to your core. So there's a fine balance there that you need to think of. But what we need to remember here again is that in showing your place in the world, you're not here simply to receive an education, but to make one. And you can do that best when you reflect on who you are. As you're setting goals, however, you might find, like Hughes, that there are some things that you need to throw overboard. And so I ask you again, what are the mental scripts and the experiences that you need to throw overboard, or if not, to discard, to revise, to be the person that you really want to be here at Ohio State? Do you need to change the mindset that has allowed you to be motivated by fear instead of by faith? Do you need to drop your habits of procrastination and perfectionism? Do you need to change the idea that there are only certain things that real men or real black men do? Do you need to, in some ways, shed the self-consciousness that you have about being the first in your generation to come to college? Or maybe the self-consciousness that you have about being from a little hometown, as I was at one point. Think about, reflect on, what are your goals? And what is it that you need to throw overboard to make them happen? Back in my day in college, Erykah Badu put it quite simply when she said, pack light. So that might be something that you think about here on your journey, pack light. And keep in mind, though, that Hughes, even as he's throwing those books overboard, he's deciding to write new books, to rewrite the story so that it's going to reflect who he is as a complicated black man in America. So even as you reflect on your changing values, there are going to be some values and virtues that are impenetrable. For many of us, that's our faith and our belief in God. Don't leave that at home. Bring it to college. It has a place. For others, it's a commitment to community building. Bring that along with you. Don't throw that one overboard. You don't come here as a blank slate. You bring your dreams and your passions and your strengths. So again, even as you reflect on some things that go overboard, also think about those that need to go in your trunk with a double lock on it that aren't going anywhere over the next 40 years. And finally, I want to encourage you to connect. So often as I'm teaching African American literature, especially some of the autobiographies that are male authored, the narrator has this attitude like, it's me against the world. What's striking is that Langston Hughes' autobiography was published in 1940, in the same year as the works of another great African American writer, Richard Wright. And one of the things that readers after the fact have noted about Wright is how often he presents himself as an isolated intellectual, as he presents himself as being the only one from his hometown who had any idea that books were interesting. But this really isn't the reality of most people who thrive and survive. So what I instead liked about Langston Hughes' autobiography, perhaps even over Wright's, is immediately after he says that he has thrown these books overboard and it seems like he's saying, it's just me, I'm coming up with my own ideas, he details how he's making new friends on the ship. So even at the same time that it's all about independence, he's immediately realizing again that he needs to have a community around him that's going to be supportive. And I would say that same message applies to us here. think about how you can align yourself with those here on campus who have similar values and goals. You may want to be involved in the band of brothers or to set up some kind of study groups. Identify mentors, those who look like you and those who don't, who can support your achievement. But even as I extend Hughes's metaphor or example of throwing books overboard, I also want to encourage you to connect. Connect because if you find that it's not just the disempowering knowledge that's going overboard, but that you are going overboard, that your mind, that your soul, that your mental health, that your physical strength, that you're totally stressed out, that you seem to be jumping ship, then it's time for an SOS. And I want for you to remember that there are many representatives at the Bell Center and all across this campus from this moment who are willing to extend you a life jacket if it's ever needed. Call on the resources here and elsewhere to make sure that you maintain your balance and you stay connected. I'm really, really excited about what's going on for the class of 2017. Because even as you throw some things overboard, throw out those old mindsets, those old books, those ineffective mindsets, you're beginning to write new books, new life stories. And let me say again here that writing is only a metaphor. It may not be with pens and pencils. See, you might be writing your life story with math formulas or with architectural designs and drafts. You might be writing it with chemistry formulas or with diagrams. But whatever you do, whatever is your means of writing your story, of staying aboard ship, do it well. Write the vision and make it plain. As each of you embarks on your own big sea, I hope that you will do what you love, ask the hard questions, reflect on your growth, and connect with others along the way. Thank you very much. And best wishes.
All right, come on, we can do better than that. Please give Dr. Williams another round of applause. I'm looking across the audience, making sure some of the past speakers from early arrival program, that was one of the best early arrival program speeches that we've had. Students, I hope you're taking notes, or I hope you have a good memory. Again, do, ask, reflect, connectedness. I couldn't have said it better in regards to how important this is going to be during your time here at The Ohio State University. Just a couple other things that Dr. Williams mentioned: finding your voice. What do you need to throw overboard? Threshold of destiny, coming of age. So again, I hope you really pay attention during this keynote speech. This I think will really help you throughout your first year and just your entire undergraduate career here at the university. Dr. Williams, on behalf of the Todd Anthony Bell National Resource Center, we want to thank you. We have a gift for you.
Kim gives them to me, maybe.
So just a token of our appreciation, a couple of goodies, some things that we have from the Bell Resource Center. So again, please give Dr. Williams another round of applause. Great. We're going to wrap up shortly here with the opening session. For parents and family members, I ask that for those of you who are staying, I ask that you stay here. At 2:30, we'll have our parent and family member panel discussion. We'll have faculty and staff from the Ohio State University who will serve on that panel, as well as some of the current students. For the students, after kind of talking to some of the current students who are here, as well as faculty and staff who I'm going to acknowledge shortly, I ask that you follow the ambassadors The current students who you met, for some of you who you met at registration or at the Hill Hall, they're going to take you back over to the Hill Hall for the next session. First, I want to acknowledge our ambassadors. If they could come in, I just want to acknowledge them real quick and just tell you who they are and just their role here with the Early Arrival Program and the Bell Resource Center. There's a couple already inside.